Tonight, Presidential Steering Committee announces fresh COVID-19 restrictions from midnight today, restricts mass gatherings in public places to 50 persons. Suspected bandits invade mosque in Katsina community, abduct 10 persons after police say 30 others escaped from the abductors. Minister of Interior raises alarm over plans by criminal organizations to attack more correctional facilities in the country to free their members. And tensions between Israel and the Palestinians rise as rockets are fired towards Jerusalem and Gaza. We also have stories from our studios in Abuja and London.
On Business News tonight, Federal Inland Revenue Service plans to prosecute taxpayers for non-compliance with tax laws.
On Sports News tonight, Italian Football Federation threatens to kick Juventus out from Serie A if the club does not withdraw from the European Super League.
And from the nation's capital, House of Representatives Committee frowns on absence of heads of oil companies operating in the oil-producing areas at public hearing.
Adjusting to new patterns, that's what Nigerians will have to do from tonight as the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 issues new directives declaring the fourth phase of COVID-19 restrictions in the country. A part of the guidelines for the reinstated restrictions include stopping persons without face masks from entering into government institutions, while bars and nightclubs will also remain closed. Government meetings and travels have been limited to virtual platforms, while mass gatherings in a public space has been restricted to 50 persons. The PSC is also encouraging essential international travels only, noting that all existing protocols must be adhered to, but there is no limitation to intrastate travel. Our correspondent Gloria Mezoke reports.
Apparently worried by the resurgence of the COVID-19 pandemic in 3 countries of India, Brazil and Turkey, the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 takes a further precautionary step in its domestic response by reintroducing restrictions of mass gatherings and curfew.
Effective from 0001 hours of Tuesday, 11th May 2021. This phase 4 of the first restriction of movement shall come into effect. We shall maintain restrictions on mass gatherings outside work settings with a maximum number of 50 people in any enclosed space. Approved gatherings must be held with physical distancing measures and other non-pharmaceutical interventions in place. Event centers, bars, nightclubs shall remain closed until further notice. Restaurants are to provide eat-in at 50% capacity and provide takeaways where available. All recreational venues, gyms, and indoor sports facilities are to close until 11th of June, when the situation will be reviewed.
Although there is no limitation to inter- or intrastate travels, the committee empowers security personnel to monitor and enforce compliance to non-pharmaceutical interventions on public transport.
States have been asked to institute mobile courts to help enforce on-the-spot fines and close premises that violate these provisions.
The committee is compelled to seek alternative vaccination for Nigerians following a global shortage of vaccines, particularly from India, as African states unifies the cost of COVID-19 testing.
The authority of ECOWAS heads of state and government has fixed the cost of COVID-19 testing, whether PCR or any other form of testing, antigen testing, at $50 at all points of entry with effect from 17th May 2021. This is to ease travel and trade among citizens of ECOWAS states traveling within the region. This amount is only restricted to tests for ECOWAS citizens or people carrying ECOWAS traveling documents, and it is also only restricted to travels within the ECOWAS sub-region.
As the PSC reintroduces restriction guidelines and activates curfew across the country, it resonates the need for state governments to earnestly intensify the vaccination campaign. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
We'll have more on this later, but to security matters now. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, says some sophisticated criminal organizations are planning to attack correctional facilities in the country to free members who, according to him, are serving terms or awaiting execution. The minister explains that this situation across the country has led to an increase in the number of inmates and that organizations are taking advantage of the situation to launch attacks on the correctional centers. He was speaking at the decoration ceremony of the newly appointed Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service, Mr. Haliru Nababa, whom he charged to grow his feet in the shoes of his predecessor by ensuring that the integrity of correctional centers is protected.
There are also sophisticated criminal organizations whose members are either serving terms or awaiting trials and are now using the security situation in the country as an opportunity to attack our custodial centers and obtain their freedom. Whatever may be the motive, custodial centers have been under consistent attacks in the bravery challenge to the authority of the Nigerian state. When inmates break free from custody, the security of lives and property is in jeopardy, and bad things happen consequently. This is the sociology of your emergence as the Controller General of the Nigerian Correctional Service. It is therefore a call to leadership, sacrifice, patriotism, and selflessness. It is your bonding duty to lead the gallant officers and men of the service to protect the integrity of our facilities using all means necessary. No one attacking our custodial facilities should have the opportunity to regret his or her action. Others should do so on their behalf. There must be no unauthorized movement of people and even animals. Let there be a clear buffer between our facility, the last wall of our facility, following international best practices.
And in Katsina, state police authorities say they have rescued 30 out of the 40 worshippers abducted by bandits during a midnight prayer at a mosque on the outskirts of Jibia town. 10 of the worshippers are still missing. A resident of the affected community told Channels Television that the gunmen arrived at the mosque at about 2 in the morning, shooting sporadically before abducting the worshippers comprising male and female and took them to the forest. Police authorities in the state say efforts are ongoing to rescue the remaining victims. Staying in Katsina State for Governor Aminu Masari, establishing community conflict and dispute resolution centers across the 361 political wards of the state will help reduce insecurity. He made the announcement today after inaugurating and inspecting one of such centers at Dandagoro town, which is the second of its kind in the state. He says the center was set up to resolve disputes among people as well as address other security problems.
In many cases, when people leave court after the judgment, they don't live on friendly ground. It's the winner and the vanquished. But here, it's where you resolve issues, accept mistakes, accept corrections, and move forward. And through this, that since now, for example, in Dandagoro, no new settler will come without documentation. Nobody can rent out his properties without documentation. Nobody can sell without documentation. So this is also another way of checking people who come, their character, where they come from, what trade or what business they are into. And again, it will enhance communal living.
I'd like to stay with our lead story tonight, which is the new restrictions on mass gatherings and others announced by the Presidential Task Force, the PSC, beg your pardon, announced this evening, adjusting to new patterns for Nigerians. Part of the guidelines have been restated, include stopping persons without face masks from entering into government institutions, bars and nightclubs being closed, government meetings and travels holding virtually, and mass gatherings in public spaces reduced to 50 persons at a time. Joining us now is the head of the Technical Secretariat of the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19, Dr. Muktar Mohammed. He joins us from Abuja. Dr. Mohammed, thank you for joining us on the News at 10. And about this new restrictions that have been announced, this enforcement that takes place from tonight, what informed this, especially now, given that the number of COVID-19 infections have been on the decline in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. So restrictions actually not new. Be part of the of the ease of
We do apologize. We will try to reconnect with Dr. Mohammed to get those answers. In part two, after the break, Independent National Electoral Commission office in Ohafia in Abia State set ablaze by unknown persons. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Presidential Steering Committee announces fresh COVID-19 restrictions from midnight today, restricts mass gathering in public places to 50 persons. Suspected bandits invade mosque in Katsina community, abduct 10 persons after. Police say 30 others escaped from the abductors. Minister of Interior raises the alarm over plans by criminal organizations to attack more correctional facilities in the country to free their members. And tensions between Israel and the Palestinians rise as rockets are fired towards Jerusalem and Gaza. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says it is concerned about recent attacks on its facility, which was recently renovated in Ohafia local government area of Abia State last night. Although no casualty was recorded, the building and all electoral materials and office equipment were destroyed. The attack is coming barely 2 weeks after the Commission's office in Esiangudim local government area of Akwa Ibom State was burnt down. Our next National Commissioner in charge of Information and Voter Education, Mr. Festus Okoye, said in a statement that the Commission is worried about the impact of these attacks on electoral activities, including the ongoing expansion of voter access to polling units, resumption of the continuous voter registration, pending by-elections, end-of-tenure elections, and the 2023 general election. 5 months ago, the INEC local government office in Abbas South was also completely burnt down on December 13th, while that of Arochukwu local government area was vandalized and ransacked in October 2020. To Ondo State, where operatives of the Amotekun Security Network have arrested members of a 4-man kidnap syndicate in Akure, the state capital. Parading the suspects at the head office of Amotekun in Akure, the commander of the corps, Adetunji Adeleye, says the suspects were apprehended after abducting 3 people along Oda Road. He says one of the victims managed to escape and reported the incident, which made Amotekun operatives swing into action by rescuing 2 other persons the night before, eventually tracking and arresting the suspects during negotiations for ransom.
It was raining. They claimed that they were on Okada when they were going, but when the rain became unbearable, they stopped at a bus stop on Oda Road for the rain to subside. While they were there, that these kidnappers came and rounded the 4 of them up. One of them escaped and they left with the 3. So the kidnappers commenced contact with their families and they started negotiation. So we were able to rescue 2 that same day, but they held on to 1 and was using that as a point of contact for the others. This Umar Garuda here claimed to be a leader, and he confessed to 3-4 other kidnappings before now. We want to assure the good people of Ondo State that their safety, by the grace of God, is guaranteed, and that all the security agencies are working around the clock to guarantee the safety of the citizens.
3 kidnapped suspects have been killed in a gun duel with the police within the Aho forest on the outskirts of Benin City. A combined tactical team from the Nigerian police force and vigilante men also rescued 7 kidnapped victims who were abducted along the Benin bypass over the weekend and taken to the nearby Aho forest. The kidnappers are said to have demanded a ransom of 20 million naira from each of the victims, but later reduced the sum to 5 million naira, which they were unable to pay before they were rescued today. The Edo State Police Command, which also paraded 52 suspects for various crimes, wants residents and anyone with information capable of aiding crime fighting not to hesitate to come forward with such information. Here in Lagos, the state government says it will begin full implementation of the Urban and Regional Planning and Development Law of 2009 as part of measures to tackle insecurity. The law, according to Governor Sanwo-Olu, Babajide Sanwo-Olu that is, will allow government to take over and demolish abandoned buildings and construction sites turned into safe haven for hoodlums and miscreants.
If you live in Lagos, the commercial nerve capital of the country, seeing this footage of top security personnel converging at the instance of the Lagos state government should leave you with some expectations of perhaps a resolution that will be soothing as regards recent security challenges. The meeting, which has representation from all relevant stakeholders, touched on notable security concerns that has rocked the state, from cultist clashes to kidnapping, violent attacks on security personnel, the activities of commercial motorcyclists who have daily flouted state restriction laws, to the rising incidences of traffic robbery. The State Commissioner of Police sees it all and bears its mind.
It is the submission of the Lagos State Police Command that the state government is strongly advised to immediately review the current guidelines guiding operation of Okada as means of commercial transportation in the state, and take decisive legal and administrative steps and policies that will curb their traffic, criminal and other nefarious activities in the state. The commitment of all the security agencies in enforcing any policy trust of the state government on this issue is hereby pledged.
Having listened to contributions made, including those from a select panel, the governor has something off his sleeves. It's a combination of policy direction and pronouncements aimed at improving security and keeping Lagos as safe as possible.
Based on all that we have seen and experienced in the past couple of weeks, and as well as the increasing threat that is posed by the activities of commercial motorcycles operating operators to the safety and to the security of life, we will, in the coming days, further change our parameters, our strategy to ensure that we can indeed fully implement the law banning them in our city and in our state.
Thank you very much, Mr. Governor, sir.
Push may come to shove. As part of the plans to keep everyone safe in the days to come is the intention to have every resident carry a state residence card for proper accounting and planning. Olu Phillips, Channels Television News.
We're in Rivers State, where Governor Nyesom Wike has announced the review of the existing nighttime curfew in the state, adjusting the initial 10 p.m. starting time to 7 p.m. The governor says the time was adjusted by the State Security Council after an appraisal of recent security situation in which 7 police officers were killed in another overnight attack on 2 police stations and a checkpoint. Before the broadcast, the governor had met with the police high command in the state, where he announced a cash donation of 20 million naira each to the families of the 11 policemen killed in the attacks on security formations in the state in past weeks.
We have reviewed the way and manner the recent attacks were executed and discovered that the perpetrators, who disguised themselves as security officers, moved in unhindered from Oyibo local government to launch the attack. The nation's security agencies are on their trail, and we are confident that they will all be arrested soon and brought to justice. We wish to assure every resident they were not intimidated by the sporadic and cowardly attacks on predetermined security targets by faceless criminals on our soil. Neither will we be cowed into succumbing to a baseless and doomed secessionist agenda. However, as a further step towards enhancing our collective safety, we have reviewed the existing nighttime curfew across the 23 local government areas, which will now start from 7 p.m. and end at 6 a.m. until further notice from tomorrow, 11th of May, 2021. The security agencies are hereby directed to note the new curfew time, ensure strict compliance, and effectively deal with any person or group that violates or attempts to violate this order.
The scene of the attack on the vigilante services at Ozubulu community in Anambra State is still deserted, with obvious signs of the violence that broke out in the area. Burned vehicles litter roads, while the office structure remains in a scattered state. Police authorities in Anambra say that hoodlums arrived the community in a Toyota Sienna car and motorcycles, after which they opened fire at the Ozubulu Vigilante Services office, killing 2 people, 2 yet-to-be-identified persons, before moving on to the nearby Ozubulu police station. But the police officers are said to have repelled the attack. He adds that the hoodlums set ablaze some vehicles parked near the scene of the attack, but no police officer was injured and normalcy has since been restored. In a similar development, the police said they are investigating the accident involving a tipper lorry laden with bullets. The state police public relations officer said the lorry was involved in a lone accident along the Enugu-Onitsha expressway. Security operatives, including the military, immediately rushed to the scene, cordoned off the area, and recovered the truck with its content. He says the driver of the truck has been arrested and the case transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for further investigation. To the lawmakers now, the minority caucus in the House of Representatives says it is alarmed over allegations that 165 billion naira operating surplus, as well as other funds running into billions of naira, are being diverted by top officials of the Nigerian Port Authority led by Hadiza Bala Usman. The lawmakers are asking the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to immediately commence a system-wide investigation into the allegations and prosecute the managing director if found guilty. According to the caucus, such a huge economic crime against the nation should not be left to an administrative panel of inquiry, but committed to an anti-graft agency for independent investigation. Raising similar concerns, the opposition People's Democratic Party is demanding the immediate sack, investigation and prosecution of the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, as well as the suspended Managing Director of the Nigerian Ports Authority, Hadiza Bala Usman. The party is also insisting that both the minister and Ms. Bala Usman be handed over to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission for investigation and possible prosecution. Meanwhile, the Minister of Transportation has inaugurated an 11-member investigative panel to probe the Nigerian Ports Authority over all contracts awarded since 2016, when Ms. Hadiza Bala Usman became Managing Director. President Muhammadu Buhari had ordered the suspension of the NPA Managing Director and approved the setting up of a panel of inquiry based on Mr. Amechi's recommendation. The minister tasked the members of the panel to accurately examine and investigate issues leading to the termination of pilotage and other contracts of Nigerian Ports Authority and confirm compliance with the terms of the respective contracts, the court rulings and presidential directives, among others. In the meantime, the suspended NPA Managing Director, Hadiza Bala Usman, has been responding to some of the allegations against her. In a statement signed personally, she said the claim that she personally awards contracts is false. The statement reads, "The Nigerian Ports Authority has an executive management team which always considers and takes business decisions on all assets of the authority in the best interest of Nigeria. To claim that I single-handedly awarded a contract in my capacity as Managing Director is therefore irresponsible, mischievous and defamatory." While reacting to a news report on contract issuance concerning on-air berths 9, 10 and 11 to Mrs. International Container Terminal Nigerian Limited, she explained that the berth was managed by Intel's or has been managed by Intel since 2007, with a 10-year extension in 2011 that terminated in 2020. Ms. Bala Usman says the NPA offered the berths to Intel since 2013, only to realize that the company failed to remit payments for 5 years and underutilized the berths. She added that with the continued underutilization of the facility, the fact that there was no contractual agreements with Intel's from the onset and the urgent need to decongest the ports in Lagos. When the News at 10 returns, find out what a House of Representatives committee is saying about oil companies operating in oil-producing areas. Plus, Federal Inland Revenue Service plans to prosecute taxpayers for non-compliance with tax laws. We'll have more in Business News. Join us again. Welcome back. The Chief of Staff, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, has confirmed there was what he describes as a foolish attempt to burgle his residence this morning, but it turned out to be unsuccessful. Professor Gambari, whose house is on the same street next to the villa, also gave assurance that there is nothing to worry about from the incident. Terry Kum is standing by in Abuja for more on the News at 10. Hi, Terry.
Hello, Amarachi. The House of Representatives Committee on Host Communities has frowned at the absence of managing directors of oil companies operating in oil-producing areas. This was the position of the committee during a public hearing to ascertain how the House can intervene in the issues affecting host communities. The committee is furious that submissions expected from the companies have also not been received. Chairman of the committee, Dumna Menedeko, describes the current situation with the host communities as slavery and says it will no longer be acceptable.
It appears that the same level of levity with which the host communities are treated is the same kind of extension you are bringing here, and we will take exception to that. And so for those companies that had no submissions and those who are expecting to bring their submissions, and even those who have done their submissions, by the next hearing, we will hope to see your MDs. And it does appear you are aware that we are even on a short break, but you can see the members who have come out today for this hearing. And if you don't attach that level of importance to this hearing, then it means that you are not ready to also operate and also let us intervene in the issues that affect these host communities. We will no longer accept slavery, because what I think most of the companies are doing, you are enslaving people, and we won't take it anymore.
Social amenities will enjoy longer lifespan if well cared for. That's according to the interim administrator of the Niger Delta Development Commission, Effiong Akwa. He was speaking while commissioning a 3.2-kilometer road in Garuda in Delta State. The road commissioning took place after the flag-off of distribution of science equipment to schools in the Niger Delta region.
Chemical reagents, skeletons, microscopes. These are some of the essential science equipment in chemistry, physics, biology, and agricultural science. They are up for distribution by the Niger Delta Development Commission to selected secondary schools in Delta State.
I'm asking all of you to take good advantage, utilize this opportunity, and as you do so, God will bless your efforts, and you will in turn be of use to Nigeria and your parents and the environment.
The Commission considers the launch of the program in Delta State as a stepping board to actualizing and implementing similar projects in all states under the NDDC.
I'm so happy because this equipment really help us in our schools. For we that are the science students, it will really help us. And I'm so grateful to whosoever that has contributed to help us.
I feel highly delighted. I want to thank the NDDC for what they have done today, bringing science equipment to our school. And I know that this science equipment will go a long way for the teaching of sciences in our school.
From here, the NDDC team moves to Garuda in Burutu local government area of Delta State for the commissioning of the 3.2-kilometer Chief Ambake Deremo Road. The Joint National Leader and Chairman of the Pan Niger Delta Forum, Chief Edwin Clark, whose speech is read by his son, commenced the intervention of the Commission, asking for more people-oriented projects.
I want to assure you that we in the communities of Garuda and our neighbors will ensure that we play our part, that the road will be well protected for the good of the people. This is what I hope many of the communities in Niger Delta will learn to do whenever government projects are sited around them.
This road is going to link up Ugeli and Burutu community. With the introduction of this road, people can now travel home. Those who used to park their cars in Warri and travel home and end somewhere can now drive their cars to their villages.
Mr. Akwa assures residents of Garuda of more quality roads in days ahead.
In the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen. The Minister of Science and Technology, Ogbonaya Onu, says the federal government has supported the growth of over 1,000 technology startups in the country. Dr. Onu revealed this when he received the report of the Technical Committee on Job Creation in Nigeria in Abuja. He says the startups are domiciled in the Ministry of Technology incubation centers. The technology startups include firms involved in food processing, auto spare parts production, agricultural machinery, software development, pharmaceuticals, and various feats of engineering. Well, that's all from Abuja. Back to Lagos, where Kayode Okikulu is standing by for business news.
Well, thank you, Terry, and you're welcome to Business News. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has revealed plans to begin the prosecution of taxpayers for non-compliance with tax laws, regulations, and other related tax offences. Well, according to a statement from the Revenue Agency, the tax offences include tax evasion, fraud, failure to deduct or remit tax, obstruction, false declaration, counterfeiting of documents, failure to file tax returns, among others. It adds that owing to recent actions by taxpayers, it will prosecute all persons involved in the tax management of non-compliant companies and associations in line with its statutory powers. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Garuda Mayfield, has encouraged Nigerian youths to embrace agriculture to become self-reliant and employers of labor. Mr. Mayfield stated this during the inauguration of First National Maize Pyramids and the commencement of the 2021 wet season farming organized by the Maize Association of Nigeria at the Katsina State Township Stadium. He announced that the CBN has put in place several measures to improve access to credit for the youth, especially in agriculture, under the CBN's Anchor Borrows program.
The Katsina Township Stadium is the venue for the inauguration of the first National Maize Pyramids put together by the Maize Farmers Association of Nigeria. Present here is the Governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, who, as the representative of President Muhammadu Buhari, leads other dignitaries like the governors of Katsina and Jigawa State, as well as the Central Bank Governor, to flag off the maize pyramids and the 2021 wet season farming.
Today, the maize that was used to create this pyramid was all sourced from one state, Katsina State. So this is an evidence that our farmers are not intimidated.
In his address, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria highlights the benefits of the Anchor Borrowers program, just as he encourages young people to embrace agriculture.
The Anchor Borrowers program has proven to be a game changer in the financing of smallholder farmers in Nigeria, as it has revolutionized the agricultural financing and has remained the forefront of agricultural transformation program in Nigeria.
The governor of Katsina State, Aminu Masari, welcomes the choice of Katsina as the venue for the event, and he goes ahead to list what the state has done to put it at the head of the queue of maize production.
The state's agricultural restoration project has placed great emphasis on the development of agriculture through partnership with national and international organizations, and the government alone cannot meet all its developmental needs for the people.
Another financial institution, the Unity Bank PLC, brings a message of encouragement to farmers.
The bank entered into strategic partnership with key commodity associations in Nigeria, including MAN, that's the Maize Association of Nigeria.
A total of 10 pyramids of maize consisting of 50,000 bags produced in Katsina State are displayed here on the ground at the Katsina Township Stadium.
And over to the stock market, where the local equities market sustained a bullish recovery from Friday, starting the week on a positive note, boosted by bargain hunting from high-cap stocks. Ovie Bikomo tells us more.
Investor sentiment at the stock market remains upbeat from Friday's positive close, thanks to a new round of bargain hunting on some mid-cap and high-value equities. It is the second trading week of May, and it appears that the bull is ready to change the narrative from what we saw in the start of last week, as the market's main index rose about 0.25%, with more than 59 billion naira added to the equity's capitalization. The gain we see today, which comes amid a mixed sectoral performance, was largely driven by bank stocks, in particular Tier 1 lenders such as Zenith, Access, GT Bank, and UBA, and they lifted the counter higher by nearly 3%. Performance on the activity chart closed the day higher, with more than 320 million shares traded in 4,867 deals, while the trio of Etchnizak, Zenith, and Axis Bank occupy the top spot on the trades list. APC Transport tops a list of 28 gainers with 9.58% increase in its share price, while Unity Bank led 13 other losers, down by 8.33%. That's all for the stock market. I'm Ovie Bikomo.
Business news for tonight. Thank you for watching. It's back to Amarachi on the news at 10.
Thanks, Garuda. Still ahead on the news at 10. Tensions between Israel and the Palestinians rise as rockets are fired towards Jerusalem and Gaza. Plus other international news from our studio in London. Stay with us. Welcome back. 20 people have been killed after Israel launched airstrikes into the Gaza Strip targeting militant hideouts in retaliation for rockets fired from the territory towards Israel. An Israeli military spokesperson says the airstrikes killed at least 3 Hamas militants, one of them the commander of the Izzeddin al-Qassam brigades. As confirmed by Hamas, Simon Pusey has more international stories in Around the World in 5.
And welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Israeli forces have stormed the Al-Aqsa Mosque, firing rubber bullets and tear gas at Palestinian worshippers. More than 200 people were injured as crowds threw stones and officers fired stun grenades in response. The latest violence comes amid soaring tensions in the city, which has seen weeks of unrest. Israel's police force said thousands of Palestinians barricaded themselves in the building overnight with stones and Molotov cocktails in anticipation of a confrontation during the Jerusalem Day, the annual celebration of the capture of East Jerusalem. During clashes outside the city walls, images showed a car being pelted with stones before crashing into bollards and hitting a man. Meanwhile, Israeli firefighters were battling fires near the border with Gaza after Palestinians sent incendiary balloons over the border. The US government has issued emergency legislation after the largest fuel pipeline in the country was hit by a ransomware cyber attack. The Colonial Pipeline carries 2.5 million barrels a day, 45% of the East Coast supply of diesel, gasoline and jet fuel. It was completely knocked offline by a cyber criminal gang on Friday and is still working to restore services. The Taliban has declared a 3-day ceasefire across Afghanistan to mark this week's Eid holiday. The announcement comes just days after more than 50 people, mostly young girls, were killed in bomb blast outside a school in the capital Kabul. Eid marks the end of the Muslim fasting month of Ramadan, its start determined by the sighting of the new moon. The Taliban declared similar ceasefires last year to mark Muslims' holidays. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga has said he has never put the Olympics first, as an opinion poll shows that nearly 60% of people in Japan want it cancelled. Japan has extended a state of emergency in Tokyo until the end of May and is struggling to contain a surge in COVID-19 cases, raising further questions about whether the Games should go ahead. Its vaccination rate is the lowest among wealthy nations. International Olympic officials, Tokyo planners and Suga himself have insisted the Games will go on in a safe and secure way. At least 4 people have been injured, 3 of whom are now in a critical condition after a stabbing attack at a New Zealand supermarket. The stabbing took place at a Countdown supermarket south of the island. Local media say the 4 injured are both employees and customers.
At this time, we have limited further information to provide.
Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said the motivation behind the attack was not clear, but there was no indication it was a domestic terror event. Lawyers representing the alleged financier of the 1994 genocide of Rwanda have requested that charges against him be dropped on grounds that he is unfit to stand trial. Felicien Kabuga was arrested a year ago in France and is detained in The Hague awaiting trial at a UN-backed court in Tanzania. Once one of Rwanda's richest men, Mr. Kabuga allegedly helped create the Hutu militia, which is accused of inciting Hutus to kill the population using the radio station he owned. Authorities in China are still searching for a leopard that escaped from a wildlife park near the eastern city of Hangzhou. The animal was one of 3 leopards to escape from the city's safari park. 2 were recaptured over the weekend. Local authorities have asked residents to stay on alert as the parks remain closed. Several staff members, including the attraction's general manager, were detained as police launched an investigation into the incident. Elon Musk has said the rocket company SpaceX will now accept the cryptocurrency Dogecoin as payment. In a tweet, he said the commercial space exploration firm will launch the Doge 1 mission to the moon early next year. Mr. Musk's tweets in recent months have helped to turn the once obscure digital currency, which was started as a social media joke, into the world's 4th biggest cryptocurrency. And finally, a whale has caused a bit of a stir in London after accidentally swimming up the Thames. Thought to be a young minke whale, it was first spotted on Sunday. People gathered after it became stuck as the tide started to recede, with a first responder hosing it down while waiting for rescuers. It later escaped after the Coast Guard tried to escort it back out to sea. Minke whales are usually found in the Northern and Pacific Oceans, which makes this event incredibly rare.
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. Time now for some sports news. The Super Falcons of Nigeria will face the Black Queens of Ghana in the 2022 Africa Women's Cup of Nations first-round qualifier. At the draw held this afternoon in Cairo, Egypt, a record 44 teams entered the 12-nation tournament, which will take place in Morocco next summer. The Italian Football Federation insists the Juventus Football Club will be thrown out of Serie A if they don't officially withdraw from the European Super League project. At the end of April, following the attempt to form the breakaway Super League, which included Italy's 3 biggest clubs, AC Milan, Inter Milan and Juve, the FIGC adopted a rule which will exclude clubs who take part in competitions not sanctioned by governing bodies, UEFA or even FIFA. Edison Cavani will remain at Manchester United FC next season after the unformed Uruguayan signed a 1-year contract extension. The 34-year-old has scored 15 goals in his first season in England, including 8 in his last 7 games, to help United to second place in the English Premier League and to the final of the Europa League. And that's a wrap in sports news. Is back to you, Marachi.
Thanks, Ayatunde. And the main news again. The Presidential Steering Committee today announced fresh COVID-19 restrictions from midnight today. The guideline also restricts mass gathering in public places to 50 persons. That is the news at 10 tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Good night and stay safe.